So this video is just of some very basic settings that you typically have to do once you're kind of starting a WordPress site, but it might not be bad if you knew where these were. I've gone ahead and deleted all the extra content that the theme installed, so now you only have 3 pages. Blog with sidebar, it's like a home page for the blog, your home page, and then a coming soon page that we're going to use just temporarily. So I'm going to slide on down here on this left menu, and I'm going to go down here to where it says settings. These are, again, typically things that you have to set up the very first time. So I'm going to go to General. Just going to walk down this list of the things that we need to change. And this is going to go ahead. The biggest thing on this is what time zone are we in and what time and date format. So I think the defaults to me generally look pretty good. June 19th, 2020. Rather than some kind of abbreviated version of that. And I like the 717 with the lowercase PM, but you could always change this if this bothered you. So I'm going to leave those two things just the way they are. The only thing I'm going to change here is the time zone, because right now it's going to be set for Greenwich Mean Time. So if you know how to work through these UTC codes, fantastic. Well, let's just say I don't. So I'm going to just scroll on up here, and I'm going to look for an East Coast city. Not in Africa, but in America. We're in the Americas. I'm just going to go ahead and pick New York City. So at that point, it's now going to know that we're whatever date we have on the blog for when we post something, it's going to be East Coast time rather than British Greenwich Mean Time. And then I'm going to say, yeah, to me, week starts on Monday is great. Save changes. Going to have to do that each time on each one of these things. Then should be able to come down here and go to reading. Oops, reading. Alright, well, I didn't drop very well on that. Settings. You know what, I'm going to do something else real quick first. Instead of going to reading, I'm going to go to reading time. Now this normally doesn't show up, but I installed this plugin, which is going to go ahead and assess the time taken on every single thing that's going to tell you how long it's going to take to read. And I think that's kind of important to put on each blog post. But right out of the box, it's actually going to go ahead and put a reading time on every single square or rectangle of content. So I need to adjust that. First of all, reading time label, sounds good. Minutes, sure. Words per minute. Well, they're saying here 300 is the average for adults. Other places I've seen, it says 200 to 500. We're going to put in 228. That is supposed to be somewhere between 9th and 10th grade reading level. Insert it before the content and before the excerpt, sure. But here's what I'm going to go ahead and do. I don't want it on every single page like this. I just want it to show up at the beginning of every single one of the blog posts. So I'm going to say displayed on posts, not on pages, not on headers, not on footers, not on menus, not on the portfolio items. Let's just keep it really, really simple. Update those options. Neat. And now, for example, if I was to redraw the home page here, or just a preview of the current home page that I'm going to set in just a second. As soon as the reading thing, the little watch is done spinning on that. Then as soon as I redraw this, it should go ahead and delete this reading time 1 minute. Yeah, that's gone. So it's only going to put it on the blog post, not everywhere else. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get back to my kind of list of things under settings. I'd already done the general. I'm going to go to the normal reading. This shows up on every single WordPress blog. And all it's going to ask you here is your home page should be what? Well, rather than it just being the most recent post, I want it to be your home page. So ultimately I'm going to say I want it to be a static page, but I don't really want to set it for the home page yet. I'm going to set it to the coming soon page. So someone's going to have to come turn this off and put it back to the home page. This is kind of what people do when they're in maintenance mode, or they have to take the site down for some kind of changes. And I'm going to go ahead and just say this is the post page's blog with sidebar. As long as each post is showing the full text, I think that's great. So let's just go ahead and hit Save Changes. There's other things in here, like the search engine visibility. I've got it turned off. Sometimes while people are building a blog, they don't want Google to be like searching the content of the first 3 posts if they're not representative of everything. But again, we're going to be up so short of a period of time, it's not worth making any kind of turning this on or off. So we'll just leave it the way it is. Come on down here to where it says discussion. Now, blog posts can leave a comment section at the bottom. But I'm kind of a fan for us in the short term, since you get a lot of spiders and other things like that where people just start trolling and throwing up junk thing like, enroll for life savings today. So I'm just going to turn off the discussion settings just to say, look, we're not going to end up having any comments on this. We'll leave the comments for people to leave on your social media posts. And then the last thing I'm going to change over here is the permalinks. And again, this is just something that you have to do kind of before you start the blog. Every once in a while, you have to come back and make adjustments to this. So right out of the box, it's saying the structure is the name of the website and then the time and the date of the post. Well, I don't like that. We're going to change that to the post name. So whatever we're going to call the post name is what the name of the post is actually going to be, rather than some crazy number. Like plain like this, like every post being a separate number, like 123, 1234, etc. So we're going to do that, and then I'm just going to show you one other section on these kind of basic setting up things, and that is once we've walked through all those normal settings that we have to mess with, and hopefully never have to mess with them again, I'm going to come over here to where it says users, and I'm going to go to all users, and for right now it's only going to be listing me. KADPR. You don't need to ask what that's for, and my email address. And now what I'm going to do for each one of you by hand is, because I'm the only one who has access to the site right now, is I'm going to go ahead and hit add new. I'm going to put in your username, the email that I asked you to give me. Go ahead and put your first and last name, although that's not going to show up. And then I'm going to generate a password. And then I'm going to go ahead and let it send you an email to say, you have been added as an administrator. The last thing I'm going to point down here is roles. Now I'm going to set everybody up to be an administrator, which means you can change absolutely everything on the site, and that's cool. But there's a lot of places that I've worked with where they want the designer or the marketing or PR advertising person to have the admin privileges, but other people within the organization have the ability to add posts, but they don't know it. They probably don't know enough about WordPress to be able to make changes, so they restrict them to being a contributor or an author. And you can set this whole thing up that if you set a person added them as an author, all they have the ability to do is to add a post, and then it basically pings whoever is the admin or the editor to say so-and-so submitted a post, but it won't go live until somebody looks it over and agrees to publish the post. So it's still kind of left in draft mode. An editor also has the ability to do that. They can not only write a post or take somebody else's post and publish it and make it live, but they can't change any of the settings on the pages or the fonts or the colors or the way it displays or anything like that. But I'm going to set everybody up as an admin, just that way we have the ability to do everything that we need to. So that's the last of the very basic settings you need to set up on a WordPress blog before you get going. And I'll be honest, sometimes during a job interview, if you're claiming that you know how to do that, they will ask you to log on to like a dummy shell, and they'll say, go ahead and add yourself as a user, just to be able to see, can you really do that? Hey, change the time, date, and place. This thing's set for German time or West Coast time. Again, just to be able to call and see, just because you say you know how to do something, do you really know how to do it? That's why we went over these things.